Hey guys, welcome back to the Management Huddle. I'm Fiona, and as you can see from today's topic, I'll be talking about Hurricane Mellisa and its impact on the sporting sector in Jamaica. Now, a lot of the conversation that is happening is surrounding trying to rebuild, trying to get food into these communities that are cut off. We're talking about agriculture, we're talking about tourism, we're talking about education, and I don't want sports to be forgotten in all of this conversation. We must remember that sports is also one of our main social tools, and Jamaica is one of the most gifted countries when it comes to athletics. And so we want to be able to remember, this sector. We want to be able to nurture our talent, because after this has passed and Jamaica has rebuilt, we don't want sports to be at a position where we have completed that rebuilding process and now we have to start rebuilding where sports is concerned. So today I'll be talking about a few of the impacts I've noticed, and some solutions that at least I think could help in that, rebuilding phase. And I will also drop a few of the links where you can support the restoration efforts from this hurricane. So, some of the impacts that I would have noticed since this hurricane would have happened, and before I get into it, I want to say condolences to all those families who would have lost persons in this hurricane, who would have lost their homes. They're out on the streets right now. They're probably cold, they're probably hungry. I want you to know that the rest of Jamaica sympathizes. We want to help in any way that we can. At least I think a lot of people, I've never seen such a level of community and love and effort poured into one country like I'm seeing right now. And it's amazing to see so many people coming on board, so many countries coming on board to assist in the rebuilding efforts. And personally, from where I am sitting, I want to say thank you. Maybe these people can't extend that thank you to you because they're cut off, they have no communication. And we here in Jamaica, at least from where I'm sitting, a lot of people are expressing gratitude for what is being done, for our country at this time. So, not to stray, from the topic, I also want to say, please don't give up. Please keep pushing. Please, please, please just keep praying, keep having faith. We know that this is a blessed little nation that we have. We are a small but mighty country, and Jamaica will most definitely rebuild from something like this. We have done it before, and I know that most definitely we can do it again. So, not to stray from the topic, um, you know, when it comes to the impact on sport, one of the things I've noticed is the damage that has happened to our schools. And I say this because our schools, high school, primary, tertiary, it doesn't really matter. This is where a lot of our athletes train. This is where it starts. A lot of our athletic talents start at the primary level, then they transition to high school, and then they would transition to collegiate and pro. And if it is that these buildings, these institutions have had immense damage, then of course, no doubt, our sporting programs would have been affected as well. What does that mean for our athletes? It simply means that we've been pushed back a whole lot because all of what the coaches would have planned for these athletes for this current season has now been put on pause. And that's not necessarily good because a lot of these athletes transition into our national programs. And if they're not able to, keep prepping, keep building on their talents, then of course it means that Jamaica's athletic performance may be impacted in the future. I want us to remember too that sport is a social tool, and this is what we use to keep a lot of our youths off the street. A lot of them aren't, as financially well off as, some. And sport is a way out. Sport is sometimes what they use to get out of their communities, to get out of homes that are not conducive to, their learning and growing. And if it is that these institutions aren't able to facilitate, the athlete and the training process, then of course, no doubt, you know what that means for our student athletes. I also want to touch on the point that, I was watching a video this week, and in that video there was a little boy that's saying he wanted a football. And it just dawned on me that this is something that we do in Jamaica. This is something that you see. You drive into a community, you may see a couple of the young boys on the street and they're kicking ball or they're playing cricket in the middle of the streets within their community. That's now gone. And if it is that we can't have that, then what are we using to engage our children at this point? So I just want us to realize that sports is just as important as all the other sectors that have been impacted by this hurricane. Our children will suffer, our athletes will suffer, our national programs will suffer if it is, sport is not also a part of the conversation. Parents, I want to say to you, yes, the house top may be gone, the clothes may be strewn out around the yard, the zinc may be there somewhere. But if the child is there and your children are there and they want to go outside and play, allow them that bit of physical activity. It is as close to normalcy as they will get until that rebuilding process has started and been completed. So allow them to play. Guys, if you're carrying things into these communities, I urge you to bring a ball, bring a bat, maybe some sneakers so that they, can put on their feet and, run about and still have that sense of normalcy, be able to engage in some physical activity. It does help to take their mind off the current situation as it stands. Alumni, for the high schools and, primary schools, this is where you come in. This is where that network of old boys and old girls will come in because these institutions are part of the foundation of our sporting programs. And we really need to, kind of get these institutions back up and running as soon as possible. Because once we get them up and running and we can fix these spaces, we can actually get the students back in. Student athletes will now get to return to their sports. They'll get to get some training as well as their education will still happen. So I want us to think about those little things. While I could talk about all of the impacts for the entirety of this video, it's important not to, berate the negative or talk about how sports has been set back because we're not here for that. We want to talk about solutions. And one of the things I would suggest is that, our sport ministry or those who are making the decisions right now as it comes to, the rebuilding efforts and how we're going to go about it, I want to ask you to just remember to have sports be a part of that conversation. So as you discuss the budgets, the plans, and you come up with the drawings and stuff, remember the sporting spaces as well. A lot of these communities had fields and multipurpose courts, and that was a part of the social aspect of sport, and it engaged our youths and kept them off the street. So we want to remember, when we're rebuilding, these spaces to also put back somewhere where these children can have some physical activity. A little field here, a little clearing there could go a long way in something like this. And maybe we aren't able to build houses right now, but as we clear the spaces in the different communities, making it conducive for play and, a bit of sporting activity could go a long way, could help to, take the kids' mind off what is going on. So I beg, our ministers and or prime minister and all of these people that sit at the table that make these decisions, please remember sports in all of this. And where necessary, if you can reach out and get people to, help the schools to rebuild as well, because a lot of our sporting activities happen there, that would be appreciated. While I've mentioned the impact that this has had on sports, the rebuilding and getting food and water in these communities is very, very important at this moment. And if you want to donate, the government of Jamaica does have an official website, and I'll put the link in my description below. You can go on the website and see what you can do if you want to assist. There are also small groups in and around the country that are trying to do little things, and no matter how small it is, it could be clothes, food, toys, any little thing that you can give. Trust me, it would go a long way. A little is a lot in this situation, and so I urge you to give back in any way that you can. As always, thanks for watching my video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned for more sporting content on the Management Huddle. Welcome to the Management Huddle, your playbook for leveling up in sport management.